Okay, so we're diving into some pretty choppy waters today with the whole Chip Yes Act thing.
Yeah.
Everyone's been hearing about it.
Mm-hmm.
This big plan to bring back chip making to the U.S.,
Right.
but then throw Trump back into the mix as president.
Oh, yeah,
And things get a whole lot more complicated.
definitely.
And it's like a race against time now with Biden
Right.
trying to get all these deals done
Yeah.
before Trump takes over. And the stakes are
Mhm.
incredibly high. We're talking billions of dollars.
Huge.
Global supply chains, even national security,
It's a big one.
hanging in the balance.
Yeah, it's definitely fascinating, and
Yeah.
the timing couldn't be more critical.
Right.
Biden's team is really sprinting to the finish line,
Yeah.
trying to get these deals done.
Uh-huh.
But with Trump and his skepticism towards foreign companies
Yeah.
getting U.S. funds,
Right.
there's this big cloud of uncertainty over everything.
Totally.
Yeah,
And we're not just talking about any companies here either.
yeah,
We're talking giants like TSMC,
huge players.
Intel,
Yeah.
Samsung.
Mhm.
They all want a piece of that $39 billion pie
Oh, yeah.
that the CHES Act offers to build these factories in the U.S.
Right here.
But maybe we should take a step back for a second.
Oh,
Remind
sure.
everyone what the CHES Act was supposed to do.
Yeah, so the GPS Act was passed in 2022.
Right.
And it has sort of a twofold purpose.
Okay.
First, it tries to address how reliant the U.S. is on Asian supply chains for these chips.
Right. We've seen those disruptions.
Exactly. We've seen it firsthand.
Yeah.
And it really impacts everything,
Yeah.
from our economy to national security.
Uh-huh. And second, I'm guessing it's about bringing back those high-tech jobs to the U.S.
Yeah, you got it.
Okay.
It's about revitalizing American manufacturing,
Uh-huh.
fostering innovation,
Yeah.
and creating jobs in this cutting-edge industry.
Okay.
The $39 billion is supposed to incentivize companies to
Right.
build those factories here.
On American soil. So Biden's team is scrambling to finalize deals.
Yeah.
Are companies actually interested?
Well, over 20 companies are in talks with the Department of Commerce right now,
Wow.
including some really big names.
Okay.
They're laying out plans for new facilities,
Uh-huh.
projecting thousands of jobs.
Yeah, well, that's huge.
But the clock is ticking.
Right.
Will they sign before Trump takes office?
Yeah.
That's the multi-billion-dollar question.
And that's where the real drama starts, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Because Trump has always been very vocal about America first.
Right.
And he said he doesn't like the idea of foreign companies
Yeah.
getting American taxpayer money.
Yeah. He's been very clear about that.
Yeah,
And that throws a wrench in things.
big time.
Think about companies like TSMC and Samsung.
Yeah.
Massive international operations.
Right.
Trump being against that could directly impact them
Hmm.
and their ability to access those CHES Act funds,
Yeah.
even if they're committed to building here.
Wow. So this could have ripple effects
Absolutely.
across the whole global semiconductor landscape.
Yeah, for sure.
It's not just about the U.S.
It raises questions about the future of the U.S. Taiwan relationship, which
yeah.
is critical for these global supply chains.
Yeah.
TSMC, a Taiwanese company, is
Right.
the world's leading chip maker.
Uh-huh.
Any friction there could have massive consequences,
Yeah.
delays, disruptions,
Mhm.
even a potential reshuffling
Yeah.
of where chips are made.
So let's say Trump takes office and wants to change the CHIPS Act.
Okay.
Would he completely scrap it
Well,
or just make modifications?
I think a complete overhaul is unlikely.
Okay.
The CHIPS Act actually has bipartisan support,
Oh, wow.
which is rare these days.
Yeah.
But there has been talk about changing funding priorities.
Okay.
Remember the social responsibility stuff in the original legislation?
Like what?
Things like requiring companies to provide childcare,
Oh, wow.
consult with labor unions,
Mm-hmm.
meet environmental standards,
Right.
that kind of thing.
I think this could be cut.
It's a possibility.
Yeah.
Trump's administration might try to make things faster,
Oh, good.
arguing that those requirements just add bureaucracy and costs.
They want to focus on just making chips.
Yeah, speed and scale of production.
So even if the funding stays the same,
Mm-hmm.
these changes could still cause delays.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Companies would have to renegotiate,
Yeah,
change their plans.
absolutely.
It just adds a lot of uncertainty
It does.
to an already complex process,
And uncertainty is the enemy of investment,
especially
for projects this big.
yeah, with this much money at stake.
Companies need clear guidelines
Right.
to commit billions of dollars.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Mm-hmm. It's not just the big picture stuff either.
Yeah.
Individual companies are having their own problems
Really?
negotiating the details of these CHIPS Act agreements.
So we've got the political stuff happening,
Right.
But then behind the scenes, there's all this deal-making going on.
Exactly.
What kind of problems are we talking about?
We'll take Intel, for example.
Okay.
They're dealing with these change of control clauses.
What are those?
Basically, they say, what happens to the subsidies
Okay.
if the company gets restructured or merged or sold?
So, like, if Intel changes,
Yeah,
then what happens to the money?
exactly. They're trying to figure out the rules
Makes sense.
before they commit billions.
Yeah, I can see why that would be a sticking point.
And then there's Micron.
Okay.
They're pushing back against having to be part of the
Wait, hold on.
National Semiconductor Technology Center,
What's that?
or NSTC for short.
Okay.
It's a $5 billion research and development hub
I see.
that the GPS Act created.
Okay.
The idea is to encourage collaboration and innovation in the industry,
Okay.
but Micron says being forced to join
Yeah.
could actually hurt their own research.
Interesting.
They want to be able to do their own thing.
So it's not just about the money.
Right.
Companies also want to protect their own strategies
Ex-
and how they operate.
Mhm.
Interesting. Okay, so...
Well, then there's labor standards.
Oh, yeah, that's always a big one.
Specifically, the Davis-Bacon Act.
I'm not familiar with that one.
It sets the minimum wage
Okay.
for construction projects that use federal money,
I see.
like these chip factories.
Okay.
So companies have to pay their workers a certain amount.
So how does that affect the HPS Act?
Well, companies are worried about the extra costs
Yeah.
and the paperwork involved in complying with Davis-Bacon, especially with Trump potentially coming back.
Yeah.
They're not sure if the rules might change.
Right.
So they want clear answers on how it'll be enforced.
So it sounds like everyone's waiting to see what
Yeah.
happens with the election.
Pretty much.
Okay, so we've got all this uncertainty,
Yeah.
all this tension.
Right.
Is there any good news here?
Well, the good news is the CHPS Act has bipartisan support.
Really?
Both parties actually agree
Wow.
that the U.S. needs to make more chips.
So at least there's some common ground there.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, what about the companies themselves?
Well, TSMC's chairman, Mark Liu,
Okay.
has said publicly
Uh-huh.
that he believes in the U.S. semiconductor industry.
Oh, wow. So he's optimistic,
Yeah, he thinks it has potential.
even with all the uncertainty.
Yeah, it seems like it.
So maybe it's not all bad news,
It's hard to say.
but the next few months will be important.
Absolutely.
Lots of big decisions to be made.
Yeah, a lot of things could change.
Okay, so we've talked about Biden's race to get these deals done
Mm-hmm.
and Trump's potential impact on the CGPS Act
Right?
and all these negotiation problems.
Yeah.
But why should the average person care about this?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
It's easy to think of semiconductors as just these little things in
Yeah.
our phones and computers,
Right.
but there's so much more than that.
In what way?
They're the foundation of the digital world.
Okay.
They're in everything.
Like what?
Cars, appliances, medical devices,
Wow.
even our infrastructure,
So the semiconductor industry affects everything.
pretty much.
Wow. I never thought about it like that.
It's all connected.
So the GTPS Act is about more than just chips.
Exactly.
It's about national security, about staying ahead in technology, and about building a stronger economy.
It affects us all.
So for people who want to learn more about semiconductors,
Yeah.
where should they go?
I recommend siliconanalysts.com.
Yeah.
They have really detailed analysis
Uh-huh.
about the chip industry.
Like what kind of stuff?
They cover the whole supply chain.
Okay.
How many chips are being made and how much they cost.
So siliconanalysts.com.
Yeah, it's a great recourse.
Okay. I'll have to check that out. That's a website I'm definitely going to check out later. siliconanalysts.com. Okay, but before we wrap things up,
Yeah.
let's go back to the CHPS Act for a minute.
Okay.
We've talked about all these problems and uncertainties, but could this actually work?
Mm-mm.
Could the U.S. become a major chip maker again?
It's a tough one. It's a really ambitious goal.
Right.
And there are definitely obstacles,
Mhm.
but I do think there's a real opportunity here.
In what way?
The Cheap GPS Act has brought a lot of energy and investment
Yeah.
to the industry.
Yeah.
We're seeing companies make big commitments.
So it's not just about spending money.
Right. It's not just about throwing money at the problem.
Right.
It's about creating the right environment
Yeah.
for innovation and collaboration
Mm-hmm.
and for building a skilled workforce.
So attracting talent,
Exactly.
building new factories,
That's just-
supporting research.
Uh-huh. It's about the whole ecosystem.
So it's about more than just making chips.
It
It's
is.
about making sure the U.S. stays ahead in technology.
Right. And that's something worth fighting for,
Yeah,
no matter who the president is.
I agree.
The GPS Act could be a huge turning point,
Mm-hmm.
but it needs careful planning
Okay.
and smart decisions.
Right, and probably some flexibility too.
Yeah, for sure. The global landscape is always changing.
So what should people keep in mind?
Well, I'd say stay informed,
Well,
stay curious, and don't be afraid to ask questions.
good advice.
The chip industry is complicated,
Yeah,
but it's also really interesting.
I'm starting to see that.
The decisions made in the next few months will affect all of us,
That's true.
so we need to understand what's at stake
Okay.
and be part of the conversation.
That's a good point. It's easy to forget how important these things are.
Yeah, but these little chips have
Right.
a huge impact.
Global power, innovation,
Yeah,
the future of technology.
it's all connected.
Well, this has been a really interesting deep dive.
Yeah, it's a fascinating topic.
We'll definitely have to revisit this.
For sure, things will probably look totally different in a few months.
Exactly. We'll keep an eye on all the developments,
Sounds good.
and we'll be back with more deep dives as the story unfolds.
Looking forward to it.
Until next time, everyone, keep learning, keep exploring.
Yeah, knowledge is power.
Especially in a world this complicated